House come back to order. Will the clerk please call calendar number 570?
On page 35, calendar 570, substitute Senate Bill number 232, an act concerning teacher permits for spouses of transferred members of the Armed Forces. Favor report of the Joint Standing Committee on Veterans Affairs.
Representative Hennessy, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I move for acceptance of the Joint Committee's favorable report and passage of the bill in concurrence with the Senate.
The question is acceptance of the Joint Committee's favorable report and passage of the bill. Representative Hennessy, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is a Department of Defense initiative that seeks to help military families by allowing the Commissioner of Education to grant temporary teacher certification to spouses of service members. Mr. Speaker, the clerk has amendment LCO 4671. I ask that he call the amendment and I be granted leave of the chamber to summarize.
Will the clerk please call LCO 4671, which will be designated House Amendment Schedule A.
House Amendment Schedule A, LCO 4671, amendment offered by Senator Flexer and Senator Martin. I'm sorry, Amendment Senate A.
The representative seeks leave of the chamber to summarize the amendment. Is there objection to summarization? Is there objection? Hearing none, Representative Hennessy, you may proceed with summarization.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Senate Amendment A exempts military spouse teacher permit applicants from state law's requirement to complete a course of study in special education, only if the applicants can demonstrate equivalent knowledge in a manner prescribed by the Commissioner. I move adoption.
The question before the chamber is adoption of House Amendment Schedule A. Will you remark on the amendment? Representative Ferraro of the 117th District, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and good to see you up there. I rise in support of the amendment. It's exactly as the good chairman of the Veterans Committee has laid it out. It's a very simple amendment, and I urge our colleagues to support the amendment. Thank you very much.
Representative Dubitsky, my dear friend of the 47th, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Talker. Mr. Speaker, I rise, as you know, I'm a bit shy talking in public, and I'm going to have a hard time describing how it's been working with you over the last couple of years, but I will try. Your reputation preceded me in this esteemed body. I had heard of you as this person who was in the legislature, who fought for freedom and individual liberty and aspired to come here and work with you. And when I got here, I had no idea that I would be working with somebody who was such a warm person, who got along with everybody so well, who was always calm, never had any bad words to say about anybody in the legislature. It really was, it was heartwarming to me. And thinking of being here without you, and I'm thinking of the times when a bill comes up that perhaps has something that is not to your liking, and how you tend to run up and down the aisles and sort of rattling off things to people about, no curse words, of course, about what you think about the bill. And I'm just thinking about you in the Senate and running around in the circle, on the inside of the circle, randomly yelling at people, telling them how you feel about the bill. The image in my head just really warms my heart. And I really feel I will be losing a colleague, but I know that you will still be upstairs, and that anytime there's a bill that you support or you don't like, I am certain that I will hear about it. Even if you're not down here, I'm sure that we'll hear your lovely voice from upstairs. So I really appreciate the time that I have spent in the legislature with you, and I know that I will continue to do so, but you will just not be sort of within spitball range. And I wish you all the luck in the world up in the Senate, and I look forward to working with you in that other capacity. And again, I thank you for the time that we've had together, and the mentoring that you have given me, and the advice that you have given me, and it's good to see you up there, and maybe one day we'll see you as the sitting in some other capacity up in the Senate. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the kind words, Representative. I assure you the feeling is mutual. I appreciate your observant nature in my character, and the pleasure's been all mine. Representative Carpino of the 32nd District, you have the floor.
Oh, Mr. Speaker, I have been waiting for this opportunity. We came in together, and I hope to see you upstairs next year. But I had a bit of a different experience than Representative Dubitsky. I heard perhaps some other words over the 8 years that we have shared. I know nobody who is as strong in his convictions as you, and you should be applauded. But I also know what it is like to be on the other side of those heated, loud, and animated discussions. And as much as we have gone around and around, I always respect your perspective because I know it is a true conviction. It may be wrong sometimes, sir, but I will respect it nonetheless. I wish you all the best in your future endeavors, and I will always call you a friend.
Thank you very much, Representative. The feeling is definitely mutual on all counts. Representative Dauphiné of the 44th District, you have the floor, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to make a few comments. I just wanted to personally thank you for your guidance and mentorship with my first 2 years here. I've looked to you often for much advisement on many bills, and I've appreciated your enthusiasm and your passion for and commitment to making the right votes, making sure that we read the bill, understand the bill, and understand the principles that we stand for. I'm certainly going to miss you. I keep saying you're going to be leaving us, but you keep reminding me you'll be right upstairs, hopefully, and that's what the plan is. So I look forward to seeing you sitting up there. Thank you so much for all that you've given to this assembly. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Representative. Having you join us recently has made the feeling of being in this chamber that much more fulfilling for me, and I feel a lot better about leaving the place in good hands knowing you're here. Representative Smith of the 108th District, you have the floor.
Well, Mr. Speaker, it's a true pleasure to see you up there. When I was listening to some of the other folks' comment, I was just wondering what the calendar might look like if you were, in fact, the speaker. And we'd probably have maybe 4 or 5 bills for the session, and that would be it. I must say, yeah, we came in together. You and I have disagreed on many bills. We have agreed on many bills. But the one thing we always had, at least with each other, is respect. I've admired on many occasions your position, your steadfastness in that position, and your willingness to stand up and state what that position is, no matter who cared and what was said. So I congratulate you on your term here. You've been a vocal and strong advocate for your constituents, and you continue to do so. And even though you're going to be in the Senate upstairs, and hopefully I'll be back down here in the House, I look forward to the race home with our dual TTs. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you very, very much, Representative. I couldn't agree more with your sentiment about passion, and I know that we share it, and I would say we are on the same page more often than not, but even in those occasions when we disagree, there's always something fruitful at the end. I genuinely appreciate your friendship. I appreciate it. Next is Representative Cummings of the 74th. You have the floor, madam.
Good to see you up there, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, thank you so much for being a friend. As a freshman, you were one of the first people to come up to me to make sure I understood the process and to help guide me through any questions that I may have. And I am very thankful for that and for the friendship that you and I have developed over these years. And I know that Waterbury will be very well represented when you're upstairs. And I have your cell phone number, so expect to hear from me frequently. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very, very much, Representative. I also look forward to the coming years. I've watched you blossom since you've joined this chamber, and I know that even after I leave, you're going to be making a huge impact here, and I know that we're going to work very well together in our new arrangement down the road. Representative Ackert of the 8th District, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First, I'd like to say I support the legislation that we're going to be voting on shortly. Appreciate the work done on that piece of legislation, and look forward to having some teachers that have some worldly experience that they could share in the classroom also. But Mr. Speaker, we did come in together 8 years ago and decided to go up to the chamber we have different names for at times upstairs, and usually not always positive. I'm sure you will, Representative O'Day has a cabinet full or truck full of 5-hour energy. You have never needed one from what I can remember in this building. And that's a good thing, because at times that you get very passionate on a piece of legislation, you may be strong in how you want to approach it at times, and I think that's because you have the knowledge of stuff. That when I listen to you talk on some bills, it's not just to chat about it. It's typically to enlighten us on what you believe is the good parts of legislation and the bad parts of legislation through your eyes, and probably through the industry, because you've got a pretty well-rounded background in business, insurance, whatever committee you're on, you don't take them lightly. But I think it's the real look. I think I myself have brought you a little bit off the cliff to the right. I might be a little bit more close to the middle over there, and you bring me maybe closer to yours. But the concept of liberty, I truly believe, is in your heart. I'll miss you in this chamber, sir.
Thank you very, very much, Representative. Our time together, joining this chamber together, has been quite a journey. I know that some folks have made similar comments up here, but in our case, it's one of growth and learning, and I've learned to temper myself, maybe not as much as some others might like, but your guidance has always been worthwhile, and you're constantly with me. In the way you handle things, you've taught me how to approach people to make your point even more likely to be accepted, regardless of the value and the actual position. Representative Staneski of the 119th. You have the floor, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Mr. Speaker. It's nice to see you up there. So, first off, I guess I just want to ask a question or pose a question that doesn't need to be answered. Representative Carpino and I were talking. We were wondering why we didn't blossom in our growth as state representatives here. You had made a mention of one of our earlier representatives blossoming in her growth as a state representative, and we thought that we actually fit that as well. With that said, I do want to say that I support this bill as a family member of armed forces. My father, as everybody knows, was a lifetime Navy veteran or is a Navy veteran at this point. And moving around, knowing families with educational backgrounds where the mother was a teacher or the father was a teacher, having this ability to teach in a state as you are being transferred without having to go through too much paperwork because you're already credentialed in other states is good for us. With respect to you, Mr. Speaker, I have been a student of yours. Long before I ever got here, I would watch you in your passionate debates on the floor of this House. And the one thing I can say about you, Mr. Speaker, is your principle. And you have always welcomed me to come and ask you those questions from maybe a little bit skewed in your mind, but you would at least listen to me on my argument why maybe we should think about this in a different way. And I appreciate that. And I also appreciate when, in the last 2 years, when I would look at bringing a bill out that I knew that, I actually would ask this question, what would Representative Sampson do? And it was more like, how many amendments is Representative Sampson going to put on this bill? So I do appreciate the dialogue that we've had over this last few years. You have made me a better representative. You made me a better leader. And I do look forward to working with you in the future, sir.
Thank you very much for the kind words, Representative. The feeling is certainly mutual, and I hope our journey continues to the circle upstairs. Representative Vale of the 52nd District, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just rise to support the bill on the board. And also, if I may, a few comments about the speaker. I had an opportunity before. I didn't have much of a political background before coming up here, so I watched a lot of CTN in 2014, and I got to see a lot of Rob Sampson. And I wasn't exactly sure what to think. Very intense and focused, and since I've been here, I think we've become really good friends. I think we both have very strong libertarian values. Sometimes we may differ on where that goes, but you know, 9 times out of 10, if not more, we're usually on the same page. And I know that even if, you know, I come to you and I come to you often to ask advice or how you feel about a bill, that I know that when I come to you, and I've said this to you before, that oftentimes you can influence me, but even the times when you can't, I know that if you can't influence me, then I feel pretty good about the vote that I'm putting forward. And so I just want to let you know that, you know, I've been here, this is my 4th session, and there's no one in this chamber that's had an effect on my development any more than you, and I want to thank you, and it's been a pleasure to serve with you so far.
Thank you very, very much, Representative. I appreciate those comments, and I want to let you know that I feel very much the same way. Your camaraderie, your friendship, since I've been here, and particularly on the Insurance Committee, you are often my gauge to decide whether or not I'm on the right page or not, and whether or not we should proceed on the avenue that I've chosen as being ranking member on that committee. And your guidance and friendship there has meant a lot to me, and it's been helpful in my growth here. I really appreciate it, Representative. Thank you. Representative Linehan of the 103rd, you have the floor, madam.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I first rise in support of this amendment and the bill, but I'd also like to be granted the opportunity to say a bit about you, Mr. Speaker.
Please proceed.
Thank you very much. I think it's safe to say that you and I are as opposite on the ideological spectrum as one can get. But I will also say that we all want what's best for our towns. And I share Southington with you, and we both want what's best for Southington, and soon, if you are successful in your endeavors, we will share Cheshire as well. And so, with that said, I like the spirited dialogue that we have, whether it be on the floor or whether it be outside. I think we have more in common than we are apart. We may believe in some very different things, but ultimately, I have come to find that there is good in your heart, and I appreciate it when, not that there was ever a question, but I appreciate it when we, I was really trying to be heartfelt. I enjoy my time here in the chamber with you, and I enjoy our spirited debates. And I know that no matter what it is that we are debating, that at the end of the day, we are both going to make choices that we believe are best for our towns. And I welcome doing that with you for the next umpteen years, whether you are in this chamber or upstairs. I thank you very much for your service. I really look forward to more spirited debates, and I very, very much look forward to coming together on some things for our towns. Thank you so very much for being you.
Thank you very much, Representative. I appreciate your comments. I feel very much the same way. I think you and I are alike a lot in our personalities, which sometimes serves us very well in achieving our goals, but maybe sometimes stands in the way of reaching out to people who disagree. I know that during my time here, I've grown a lot in that ability. I have a ways to go, I'm sure a lot of people might say. But I see you growing as well in that area, and I look forward to working with you in our futures. I'm sure it's going to turn out well for both of us and for the towns we represent. Representative Zupkis of the 89th, you have the floor, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's nice to see you up there. And I just wanted to say that I am grateful and I admire your spirit, and I think you are very articulate. We agree a lot. We agree a lot differently, which is okay. But I do admire your spirit and your passion, and I look forward to working with you in Prospect, and I know that we can make it even better than it is. So thank you for your spirit, and it's going to be a very good time for our towns, even though we agree, but just not quite as spirited as the other. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments, Representative. I've enjoyed getting to know you over the years and certainly serving with you here. I consider you a role model in many ways because, as you said, we do share many of the same values, and you seem to do it with a way that is much more easygoing and for people to accept. And I've tried to learn from you on how you manage to do that, and maybe it's some of that Southern charm. A trip south for me, maybe before next session might be helpful. Representative Scanlon of the 98th District, the distinguished chairman of the Insurance and Real Estate Committee. You have the floor, sir.
Good afternoon. I rise to speak in favor of this bill, but also just to give some comments. You know, Representative Sampson, I think I speak for everyone on my side of the aisle that we are terrified to see you up there in some ways. And I got to admit that when I walked in from the budget press conference, I think there was a few people wondering whether you had staged some sort of coup to get up there. But in all seriousness, to be very brief, I want to rise to just say our goodbyes to you in this chamber. I know that you may be serving elsewhere here. You and I have worked together for the last 2 years, and like my friend Representative Linehan said, we may not agree on everything, but you and I have a respect for one another that I think transcends party. And we have butted heads quite a bit in our committee, but I have nothing but respect for you and the way that you prepare yourself for our meetings You do have differences, obviously, but we try our best to work those out. And I think I'd say for both of us that we have done a good job in doing that. So I know that we will continue to stay in touch. We may not have our usual banter again. And if we had a little more time, I would have a lot of questions for you, Representative, from the chair, to pay you back for some of the questions that you've been asking me all this time. So we'll save that for another day. But it's good to see you up there, Representative, and I look forward to keeping in touch with you. And thank you for all we've done together, despite our differences.
Thank you very much, Representative. I share your sentiments completely. You and I have had a outstanding working relationship. I think that anyone in this chamber would be happy to have the same kind of working relationship between chairman and ranking member that we have had, and I think it's been productive. And I consider you a friend. I really appreciate the opportunity to have gotten to know you and to work together on policy that affects the citizens of Connecticut, and working together has been one of the great joys of being here. I really appreciate it, Representative Scanlon. Thank you. Representative Kupchik of the 132nd District. The floor is yours, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We came in together and we were the Fighting 15. Although I didn't realize you were going to take that fighting thing so seriously. All kidding aside, Rob, we have gone to battle on different issues over the years, but I too admire your spunk and your passion. And although I probably agree with you very little, I do admire your hard work ethic. And I'm looking forward to having a senator who's going to work with some of his former House members when he's up in the Senate. And I wish you well.
Thank you for your comments, Representative. I agree. The Fighting 15 was meant to mean something other than maybe what it has meant on some occasion. But I have always respected your point of view, and I know that sometimes when it comes to the bills that come before us, we might not see eye to eye, but I've always admired your passion. You're very much like me also in that you are determined to get what you are after for your constituents, and I admire that from anyone who takes the job seriously. Representative Wilms, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to say that I've always admired your passion and your commitment, although maybe on some issues we haven't completely overlapped. But where I found you particularly effective, and I think I've told you this privately, but I do want to say this here. Where I find you particularly effective is as ranking member of the Insurance Committee, where an insurance bill comes out, and you clearly have done extensive research and analysis into all of it, and you're extremely conversant, and you ask, I think, very high-level questions, very cogent questions, and you marry your passion with your intellect, and it makes you, in my opinion, extraordinarily effective in that role, and so I just want to commend you for that.
Thank you very much, Representative. Those are very kind words, and I appreciate them. That's all I ever expect to do when I come to this job each day. I want to make sure that I fulfill my obligation to my constituents to perform the duty to the best of my ability, to stand for the principles that I've promised to stand for, to keep my promises to them, and so I'm glad that it shows in some cases. I'm not someone who is big on creating theater, and the chamber, to me, is a place of business that should be taken seriously. So I'm going to be very, very brief and just say thank you to all of you that I have shared time with here. Thank you to those of you who I consider my inner circle, my close friends who know me on a level that I'm afraid I didn't get to reach with all of you individually. I have a long way to go in my life and my career in politics, I hope. But I am forever trying to build on what I have learned and take that to the next level. To me, I want to be as effective as I can, and you have all taught me that our relationships, our interpersonal relationships, the way we talk to each other, matters maybe more than the substance of your argument. And that's some place where passion sometimes gets you in more trouble than it does solve the problem that's before you. I promise you all, I'm working on that. I will continue to do so. And I hope the Senate is as ready for me as I am for it. Thank you very, very much, everyone. Will you remark further? Will you remark further on the amendment before us? Representative Rivero of the 51st. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you. Congratulations. I just got the report, and they told me that you beat me out for talking longer this session than I did by 1 minute and 21 seconds. Thank you very much. You beat me out. Enjoy yourself.
No, Linda's good. Linda, you want to jump in? Thank you very, very much, Representative. Where am I exactly? Yep. Will you remark further? Will you remark further on the amendment before us? If not, I will try your minds. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and the amendment is adopted. Will you remark further on the bill as amended? Will you remark further on the bill as amended? If not, will staff and guests please come to the well of the House? Forgive me, Representative Ferraro of the 63rd. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I actually thought that we would pass the amendment and then we would do a tribute to your time here in the House once we got to the bill, but I miscalculated and I didn't really get to say anything. And as you know, Bob, you and I have had a up and down relationship here since I got here. But the one thing I did want to say is that it would be impossible to sit behind you, to be in the same room with you, to not learn something from your conviction, from your dedication to your principles, and for you trying to keep everybody on track and making sure people make the right vote with regards to their constituents and the right vote with regards to our ideology here in the House. So I want to just say that I want to wish you the best of luck going forward in your new endeavor, and I'm sure wherever it goes, you're going to make an impact. And it's been a pleasure to serve with you here in the House. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much for those comments, Representative. I appreciate you literally breathing down the back of my neck here in the chamber on occasion. Our friendship and our dialogue has been invaluable. I am always curious to hear what you have to say as someone that I know takes this place as seriously as I do. Thank you very much, Representative. If not, will staff and guests please come to the well of the House? Will the members please take your seats? The machine will be opened.